Hey everybody, so today I want to talk about the single greatest reason to end the Federal Reserve. And this graph shows it completely. So this is the one of the money supply graphs. The other M is that this shows the amount of dollars. So these are the physical dollars, paper money, in the U.S. economy, and it's pretty much stagnant with a gentle rise. And then right about here, the gold standard ends in 1971, and then it gets a steeper, and bam, you get 2008, and then a radical increase in the money supply. And you can see this across M1, M2, and M3 is no longer really used. But we can look at this. Here's M1. Again, you see the same. And let's go back and let's go see M2. This is essentially, boom, same graph all across the board. A massive increase in the money supply. However, we don't have a massive increase in inflation. We actually have a slight downtrend in inflation. Or it's more than slight, since the 1970s. And why is this? Well, there's two things that could have happened here. First of all, if you're expanding the money supply without inflation, well, then maybe we have a really strong economy. So this is needed because there's a lot more population. But no, we don't have a lot of GDP growth at all. Let's look at the map. Again, the GDP growth is inconsistent and has been getting less and less. Since the 1960s, we've had a constant downtrend in GDP, and we also have a large increase in the money supplies. So where's all this money going? Well, the answer is to the pockets of the wealthy. Look at income inequality in the United States. It's about the same general trend as these are. I wonder why this is. Well, if you think about where all of the economic growth in the United States is currently, it's all in the wealthy echelons. And you know why? Is because they benefit tremendously from government intervention, primarily with the Federal Reserve, who's artificially inflating their bank balances. So this is what comes through quantitative easing, which is, just basically giving buckets and buckets of money to the wealthy, who are then using this to, buy politicians, and it's a constant circle. So this is my question to lefties and socialists and communists and, just liberals in general. So why do you want to give more power to the government when the government is just enriching the wealthy? This is incredible. And when I'm not talking about the wealthy, I'm talking about strictly the 1%. And the government is using the Federal Reserve to enrich the wealthy, who are then, giving them the money in order to get the votes they need. I don't understand why the liberals think that if you give the government more power, the rich will become less rich, and the poor will become richer. This doesn't play out in history. Giving the government more power leads to more wars, essentially, more oppression. You need to devolve it. The power needs to be the closest government that's useful for the citizens. So the towns and the states are more effective than the federal government, because the interests of the federal government are murky at best. They need to appeal to their voter base, but they also have their friends, the Wall Street CEOs. And you know what? I like Wall Street. And I think that it's necessary to have the rich in order to, be productive, to have economic growth. But you know what? You bail them out. You make them inefficient. You make them lazy by just artificially increasing their bank balances. Because why do they need to expand their businesses to increase their profit when the federal government is doing it for them? And this is exactly where all this money is going to. If you actually look at the assets of the largest banks, they were artificially inflated hugely by 2008. If you don't believe me, just go look it up. Alright, go look at the JP Morgan assets over time and how much they've been able to accumulate. Look at their profits. And the reason they're able to do this is because of the government. And the reason why trickle down doesn't work in this case is because in order to have trickle down, you need to have an increase in I. And you don't need an increase in I if the wealthy are already insanely wealthy. And this is because of the government. And the reason why banks are so huge is because you didn't let them fail in 2008. When a system, I think 2008, the banks were incentivized for bad loaning was because they were essentially federally insured, so they don't care about their money. Same thing in healthcare. They're investing their profits not into research and development. They're investing into the stock market because they know they're insured. That if stuff fails, it is not their fault, it's the government's fault. You need to put the responsibility back into the individuals, and we can't let the government inflate the wealth of the wealthy. And this is what they're doing. The government is not for the people in this case. This is why we need to end the Fed. The Federal Reserve is one of the huge economic problems in the United States. I think we need to abolish the Federal Reserve. We need to reinstate a Bitcoin. I would prefer to do a commodities-backed, free-floating currency. So, like, say we take a pool of commodities, gold, silver, platinum, and then we have them in the free market, and we simply use those as our currency units. We can still have paper money, but you need to be able to convert it into hard assets. That is what you need. Fiat currency doesn't work. It's not worth, because the government can just manipulate it. Let's take an example. Say this is why this doesn't work. And there's always been the history of why the government hates hard currency, is they can't manipulate it. If they need to, destroy a nation, they just simply print more money and then they buy goods. They outcompete the private goods, and then they go, blow up countries. It's the fiat currency makes the government irresponsible and makes it so they can fund the wealthy, and no one wants to see this. I don't dislike the wealthy. I think they're getting an unfair advantage because the government is giving it. It's not because of tax breaks. It's because the Federal Reserve is printing money for them. Nothing to do with tax rates. I think everybody should have lower tax rates. Thank you guys for listening today. If you guys have any questions or disagree with me, please comment down below. And also, please like and subscribe. That really inspires me to make more content. The more views I do, the more inspired I feel like to make videos. Thank you guys. Have a great day.